Hey everybody, so excited for you to check out today's episode with my good friend Jen. And it's just an amazing story of how the darkest of times can be some of your brightest moments, and she's going to go through all of that. And again, for those that have not yet jumped into our intensive, we are on day 4 tonight, so it's still not too late. The recordings, if you missed day 1 through 3, are available until next Tuesday, so you can get caught up. So if you want to join the intensive, the link is still available to register. But also, exciting to announce that we are opening the doors to our virtual LinkedIn accelerator program. A link to that is also in the description, and we would love for you to check it out. But also, if you're looking to take your LinkedIn game to the next level, click the link and you can get started with us today. So enjoy today's episode with my good friend Jen, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. So Jen, welcome to today's episode, and super excited about this episode. And as we've now entered into 2021 and, obviously things still being the way that they are and people still having to pivot, we connected on quote unquote the gram and quickly took it from online to offline and realized that there was a lot of synergy in what we both do.
Absolutely.
Me being very, very involved in teaching human connection, but you being someone that believes in teaching the art of relationships and not just in personal relationships with husbands and wives and significant others, but how relationships are so important in business as well. So number one, welcome to the episode.
Thank you.
And number two, and most importantly, I want to go back before we go forward. So
Okay, let's do it.
I always love the guests to kind of introduce themselves to my audience. So,
Awesome.
how did Jen Hurvitz get to where she is
Oh my
right
gosh.
now?
Where do I start? Hi. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here. I love it. So where do we start? Well, I tell people I made a career out of my disastrous situation, right? So I tell people I took my divorce, I took lemons and made it into lemonade. So I took my divorce and made it into my career. So about 5.5 years ago, I got divorced. And I think people, you never ever think you're going to be divorced, right? You go to the chuppah, you go to the altar, you stand in front of this wonderful human and you pledge your love for each other and you just assume that's your life. And you never think I'm going to get divorced, right? I never did. I always thought I was going to be married forever. And, stuff happened. Can you swear in here? Stuff happened. So,
Sure.
Shit happened. Shit happened.
happens.
And I looked at this human, this man, I call him my husband. And, I think for a million reasons, 2 books later, a million reasons we ended up divorced. And I couldn't believe it. I don't think I was blindsided. I think that I knew why. I can tell you why I got divorced in a nutshell. But yeah, so I kind of looked around and I'm like, 13 years of marriage. I put my kids first. 100% put my kids first. I put myself second. I put my relationship second. I put my husband second. And I put my kids first. And I looked around and I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with myself? What am I going to do with my life? I have no career. I gave it all up for my kids. And would I change it? Probably. But you know what? Woulda, coulda, shoulda, which is the name of my second book. And, I looked around and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I decided to start writing. And I had never written anything ever a day in my life, but I'm like, hey, I think I'll start a blog. And I think maybe people will listen, maybe they won't, maybe they'll read it, but it'll be fun for me and it's cathartic. So I started a blog called The Truth Hurvitz, which is my last name. And I kind of looked at my 11-year-old at the time and I said, Jonah, help me. I don't know how to do this. And he's like, Mom, you don't even know how to turn on a computer. And I kind of figured it out. And I wrote a blog and I pushed publish and I was kind of freaking out. And next thing I knew, I had like crazy amounts of readers. And not only did I have crazy amounts of readers, but I had people that were reaching out to me saying, oh my God, I always like get all teary when I write this, but you're actually writing what I'm feeling. And I reached people on a like a different level. So it was cathartic for me, but it was also healing to see that other people, other women, other men were actually, they understood where I was coming from, that I wasn't alone in the world. And that became, something interesting to me, that I could actually help people in this divorce space, right? So I started writing and writing more. And then this blog turned into a TV pilot. An agent out in LA, his wife actually read my blog, and they kind of reached out to me and said, would you think about writing a TV show based on your life? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm not a writer. And they're like, no, you kind of are. And so one thing led to another, TV pilot. And then I started writing a book, and I wrote a book. Anyway, long story longer, I keep babbling. It turned into my career. So I wrote 2 books. First one's called One Happy Divorce, Hold the Bullshit, which was cathartic for me. And then the second one is called Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda, a divorce coach's guide to staying married, which was kind of helpful for married folks out there. I kind of wrote it so that people could learn from my mistakes. So now I'm a divorce relationship coach, and I coach people on how to stay married, which is kind of fun. So, that's it.
Well, there's so many things I want to kind of dig into.
No, that's what everybody says. They're like, wait, where do I start?
So, we connected on this front because, I've been divorced twice.
Yes.
And, part of me, it's not that I was giving up on the idea of marriage, but, my first marriage, I was very young when I got married the first time. And we
call that a starter marriage.
Yeah, we grew apart,
Sure.
Both great people, just, it was really early.
Yep.
The second marriage had its issues, but, we did bring an amazing human being into this world, my now 8-year-old little boy, Taylor. But it also, I learned so much from both of those relationships to understand how to communicate better, how to share my feelings, how to listen better. And it prepared me. Both of those relationships prepared me for my wife,
Right.
who I know is my forever person. It's just, it's so clear and abundantly present that she is. But the big thing is I watched a movie, about 4 years ago, and I've watched it about 3 times since, and it's called The Shift, by Wayne Dyer, and I'm sure you've heard of Wayne.
I love his book. Yes,
he passed away a couple of years ago, but and this is what you said. The shift was basically the big difference between men and women, and he was basically saying that so many women go through life, and they go through these evolutionary changes from being a single woman to becoming a wife. And then the biggest metamorphosis happens when they become a mother. Oh. And he was saying, when they become a mother, the natural thing to do is to give everything up and put themselves last. Because if that mother was to put themselves first, they would be selfish, and,
right.
You have to care more for everyone else, and then, care about yourself whenever you can.
Right.
And, the whole movie, and I always recommend people to watch it. It's beautiful. Portia de Rossi's in it. It's just a wonderfully produced movie. Talks about, women have to go back and focus on those things that they were once passionate about. And the example in the movie, this woman, she was an artist in her early 20s, and she gave it up when she became a mom. She had two young kids.
That's what I did. I was a DJ
and
a dance instructor, and I gave it all up. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put my kids first. And not to interrupt you, but go ahead.
So my whole thing is this, what, and you kind of prefaced by saying, if you could go back, you would do things differently. And obviously you and I both coming from the Jewish culture and background, Jewish mothers are definitely a special breed of mother, not to downplay other types of mothers, but, having a Jewish mother, they are bred to do everything for everybody at any and all cost, and put themselves last. It's like written in stone what you do. So my question to you is, outside of, the Jewish faith, because all mothers do this,
Yes.
why is it so hard?
Well, it's not, here's my thing. So I always, when I speak around, I go around the country and I speak on this topic, and I always put like the men on one side of the room and the women on the other. And every time I say this, the whole room goes crazy. I say to everybody, look, if you don't put your children second, your relationship will fail. And everybody looks at me and they're like, oh my God, you're crazy. You have to put your kids first. And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm not saying give them dog kibble and walk out of the room, right? What I'm saying is, if you put your kids second, your relationship automatically will be stronger. You have to put them second so your relationship becomes first, right? And then they see the most amazing thing happen, right? They see this amazing bond between you and your spouse, and they learn so much. It's like this metamorphosis of amazingness happens because you love that person, your spouse, and they see a happier, right? They see a happier mom, they see a happier dad. Everyone is happier. And then the whole family is better. The whole family benefits, right? Does that make sense? Right? So I'm not saying put your kids second and like leave them and like walk out the door, but I'm saying when you go on a date, like a date night, my husband and I used to go on date nights, and I thought I was the best. I was the best mom. He was the best dad. I was a really shitty wife, and he was a really shitty husband. And I say that all over the place. And I look back and I think, what happened? Like, we would go on a date night, and every Saturday night we would go out. Every Saturday night. I thought I was the best wife. I would get a babysitter. I would get dressed up. We would go out, and guess what we would do? We would talk about the kids. We would talk about the kids. We would talk about our jobs. We would never spend time cultivating and being with each other and focusing on each other. But I loved I cry even thinking about it. We never loved up on each other. It was always about the kids. So looking back, would I change it? Do I regret? And there's no regret, but would I change it and be put him first? Absolutely. Because then my kids become automatically first, because the relationship is just stronger in itself. Does that make sense?
It does. And I don't care how great of a quote unquote communicator someone may think they are.
Yep.
Or how personable someone says they are. When you're in a relationship,
mm-hmm.
you have to work at that relationship. Here's a funny thing about me and my wife. From day one, and obviously our date nights are a little bit different right now.
Right.
But still, we did this actually on Thanksgiving Day. My ex and myself, we split my son on Thanksgiving. He's with her the first half of the day, and then he's here the second half of the day. So when we had a little bit of alone time, just the two of us, and we've been doing this since we've been together for over 3.5, almost 4 years now, we would always bring conversation cards everywhere we went.
I love that. I tell my clients that all the time. That's awesome. Good for you.
And we actually, my dad and my stepmom came over Thanksgiving weekend. We did a social distance leftovers together, and my wife gave them an extra packet of conversation cards because, I don't care how long someone's been together, there's always something new, because you go through your own database of questions when you want to know something about someone. But when you have these conversation cards, and you can get them on Amazon, they're amazing.
I love them.
And it just deepens the connection that you have with the person that you're with to levels that you can't even imagine.
I'm shaking my head. No, your listeners can't see me. I'm shaking my head. I'm smiling. I'm so proud of you, because it's so important. And I always tell my clients to check in with each other every night, right? So before you go to bed, you're laying next to each other. What did I do great today? What did you love about what I did today? What didn't you like about what I did? But you have to be able to receive that criticism, right? You have to be able to receive that, because it's hard. It is hard. It's tough the first time you ask someone, what did I do today that you didn't love, right? You can't be defensive. You have to say, okay, whatever, right? So like those kind of things that you do, the conversation cards, just spending time in like those, communication is so important, and people don't, but it's hard. It's difficult to get caught up in that Netflix show you're watching every night, right?
And we still do. I mean,
yeah, we do too.
We still do.
Yeah,
we recently, at the time that we're recording this, we just finished The Undoing on HBO.
Oh my God, I watched it last night.
Which we thought was great. We thought was great.
Yeah.
We're in the midst of watching The Queen's Gambit, which we're
my favorite, hands down.
Yeah, we're like a quarter of the way through that. But the big thing is this, if my wife was sitting next to me right now and you asked her, what is something Scott always says to you? And I always tell her, speak your truth. So
Yes,
I don't want her ever holding something in, because
absolutely no.
that's when things kind of mount up and then they
Yep,
explode. So
yep.
if there's nothing too difficult that we can't talk about. But we have we have never yelled at each other. I mean,
Oh,
we've been
that's
together and we just have, it's such an amazing relationship. And I know there's people listening to this, well, wait till you're married for, 15, 20, 25 years don't matter. That's the thing. I want to spend the rest of my life with this
oh,
person. I want to grow
yeah.
old with this person. I want to experience things with this person. We want to start a family together. All of those things we want because we love and we care about each other. And I use my sister and my brother-in-law as just prime examples. They're they're a reality TV show. No lie. I mean, they've been on Say Yes to the Dress. They were on a pilot episode of something else. But they, from day one, their relationship has always been most important. They have two beautiful little girls, my two nieces, but they've had a nanny, whether they could afford it or now they can. Obviously, they always made it a priority to make sure that they had help so they could continue to foster their relationship. Even during the pandemic, every Saturday night is a date night for them.
That's what we
So
were too.
the kids go to bed, they play beer pong. No lie.
Yeah, it's true.
They get drunk. They have a good time.
But that's why when you're describing the relationship, I tell my, when I coach and when I speak to around the whatever, I tell people all the time, during your marriage, you have to put your kids second. During a divorce, you have to put them first.
Yeah.
That is my mantra. I say it all the time. Your kids come first during a divorce, and during a marriage, they have to come second. It's like the most, and people look at me and they're like, oh my God, Jennifer, what do you mean? I'm like, listen, right? And it's not about finding the right partner. It's not about finding the right partner. It's about being the right partner.
Yeah.
About being the right partner. And I screwed it up. I screwed it all up. For my 13 years, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, Jennifer, look what, now that I know what I did wrong, I can do it right. So if I can teach that and coach that, right? But I feel like you are just, you had it already. You got it, right? You know what you're doing now. So when people listen to you and you're coaching and you're doing your podcast, I feel like people should take out a pencil and take notes, right? But you have to also apply those things as you move on through your relationships, right? And it's difficult because people that have been married 20 years and I coach them, or they've been married for X amount of years and they're going through, they're vacillating, should I stay or should I go? You can fix it. You can fix it. People always say to me, no, I need to get divorced. It's been awful. It's been no. Work on it. Put the effort in. Don't leap and jump so quickly, because that's what I did. I thought to myself, you know what? It's been 13 years. Screw it. I can't do it anymore. But I could have fixed it. You can, just put the work in.
Yeah.
So.
The grass isn't always
Oh my
greener
God, no,
on
it's
the
not.
other
Okay.
side.
It's not.
And you can't go back. So,
Right.
I have an interesting background. So, my sister's been divorced before. I've been twice divorced, and my parents got divorced, but at a very later age. So over a 6-month period, when I was about 29, 30 years old,
Mhm.
my sister, myself, and my parents all got divorced within 6 months.
Oh my God.
And my parents were together for 31 years.
Do you ever think about writing a book?
I've written a couple. I've written
Oh,
4
did you? I didn't
books,
know
but
that. Oh, I
I've
didn't know that.
written 4 books, but
Okay.
not on that
Right. But on
aspect.
LinkedIn and stuff, right? On business.
But there
Okay.
is something there. And so and my wife,
Mhm.
her parents got divorced when she was around my son's age. So when my son's mom and we got divorced when he had just turned 2. So
It's great. It's great.
he doesn't remember us being together. But it's so nice having my wife who can relate to him, because she remembers going back and forth from mom to dad's house. But we actually moved down the road from my son and his mom to be closer. So they live about 8 miles, 9 miles away, because we didn't want him to be pulled in so many different directions. But
yeah.
she can relate to him and he can relate to her. But it's interesting because it's twofold. He's always my first priority because I need him to express feelings.
Absolutely.
at the same time, my wife is also my top priority because I want him to see
Of course.
the healthy relationship that we
Absolutely.
have. So,
Sure.
for people that may be listening to that, yes, it's work because I have to balance putting him first and putting my wife first
Yes.
because
Yes.
he needs to know that I'm emotionally there for him, but my wife needs to know that I'm emotionally there for her, but he needs to see that on his end as well.
Right.
And it's different, and if his mom ever decided to get remarried, I support that. I want her to be happy. And, as long as he's seeing healthy,
Absolutely.
loving,
Amicable.
meaningful
100%.
relationships, it's going to foster good things to come. Now,
Absolutely.
so I want to dive into this, aspect of what I wanted to talk about in entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this, and they're in network marketing, they're in business coaching, they're in online consulting. And you and I both know when you launch a coaching practice,
Yes.
there's a lot of growth that happens personally. And you and I, obviously it's from our personal experience, but for that network marketer, that entrepreneur, when they start digging into personal development and their spouse, their partner, that relationship, that person's still into the 9 to 5 mentality, and
Oof.
you know the adage that you either grow together or you grow apart.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
one person is on this
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
deep dive personal development journey, peeling layer after layer, and the other person's just kind of like on autopilot, coming home, putting the TV on, grabbing dinner, taking a shower, going to bed. So you see one person just leveling up and growing, and the other person is staying there. And then you see that person that's leveling up. They're like, well, this person kind of sucks, so I don't need to be with them anymore. When, again, it comes back to communication. So what is your message to that person that's listening to this, that is the
Mm,
person
mm, mm, mm.
that's leveling up, that feels that the person that they're with is just stuck and staying, and they're not willing to change, but they are? What's your message?
You know what? That is so funny. That's a tough one. I mean, I don't quit. I don't stop. I mean, you seem to be the same as me. I don't give up. So, for me, I don't stop. I'm a hustler. I hustle. I keep going. I don't give up. Podcasting, coaching, anything in this, it's a 24-hour job, right? I mean, I return emails, and also you have to remember it's different time zones. So I'm in Charlotte, right? So if I get a coaching client that's in LA, I'm taking that call, right? So whoever's with me has to understand that I'm 24/7. I am constantly moving and going and shaking. Um, and yeah, I mean, I have dated. I'm obviously divorced. Well, not obviously, but I am divorced, and I've been in a 4-year relationship. But I have dated guys that are not they're not going to hang around for that. So for me, it's just not going to it's not going to work. I mean, this is my career. This is my passion. I love what I do, and this is where I am in my life. So I'm not willing right now to give that up. I gave it up once. So in my position where I am at 48 years old, I think when I'm just going to say this, I guess just put it out there, be really truly authentic. When you give it up once, I gave up my career once for my children and my for 13 years of my marriage, and I was in a financial position, you know, um, when I got out of my marriage, that I looked around and said, "Holy shit! Now what? I don't want to be there again." I'm not going to give up all this hard work, and it is hard work. I mean, the struggle is real, especially with COVID and everything. Now we're lucky enough to be able to do things like this, where you can stay in your house and Zoom and interact like this, right? It's really cool. So I'm not giving this up. So yeah,
So
did I
what's
answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah. So what's your message to the person that really needs to focus on getting back to the way that things once were? And again, there could be so many internal or external factors: kids, job, loss of job. What are some easy things
Oh,
that people can do to really strengthen the relationships and strengthen the bonds, or reignite that connection that was once there that may have been brushed under the carpet for unintentional purposes?
you mean relationship wise?
Yeah.
Oh, relationship wise. Back to just so not business wise, relationship wise.
I mean,
Um,
it's one and the same too.
yeah,
So
I agree. I agree. I
people
agree.
can apply it to business and
Yeah, yeah,
personal.
yeah. Well, you know what? I really think that it's about time and spending time and finding time to be alone with each other, especially if you have kids. Especially if you have kids, this is a really tough time to find that space um, to be together, right? But be together alone and share the time. And it's also really important to find alone time for yourself. So I think it's that balance of being together and then being having that alone time. Because I know that, I mean, you were just telling me before that your gyms are closed and you can't, right? So where do you find that space? I have friends that are working out in their garages and they look at their husbands and they say, I need some, where do you go? Where do you go to find your alone time? Whether it's meditating, I meditate. So, which I'm really hyper. So people are like, what do you mean you meditate? I like to meditate, doing yoga, whatever your personal preference is. I think it's super important to get that alone time, whether it's taking a bath, having a glass of wine, whatever it is. But I also think it's important to find time together. So, does that answer your question? I guess.
Yeah. What would you say about the relationship aspect to personal and business? Because, you know,
Oh,
the work-life balance, and this is something that my wife has helped me tremendously with, because unlike you,
yeah.
I literally could work 24/7, 365. Like I don't have that shut off. And she
Yeah, I
said,
don't either.
listen, you need to rest, you need to
Yeah.
recover, you need to
Yeah.
cut it off, because it helps with our relationship. Because I really feel when people are so motivated, they're so driven, they're so inspired by what they're doing. It's easy to do it all the time because you don't consider it a job. You love doing it, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you still need to rest. You still need to recover. You still need to tune out and check
Yes.
out and heal everything. So what's your message or advice to that person that's having a tough time finding that relationship balance between work and the person that they're with?
Well, I'll be honest, I've been having a really tough time lately, a really tough time. And I was ready to throw it all in. I mean, I really was over the last couple of months. I have had a really hard time with social media. It's been really just sucking the life out of me. I think that social media is that's a tough balance in itself. When do I post? When don't I post? If I don't post, no one will find me. No one will see me. Um, I've really pulled back and I've said to myself, I'm putting away my phone. I'm shutting off on Sundays. Sundays, I really try very, very hard to just unplug, completely unplug. If my kids are with me, they're 18, 16 and 18, and they're leaving soon. They're going to college. Oh. So I shut down. When they're with me, I try very hard not to pick up my phone. I don't take clients. I don't record podcasts when they're in my house. So my husband and I call him my husband and I have week on, week off. So the week that my kids are with me, I don't record. So my clients are my guests or my podcasts are always like, well, you hardly have any recording time. I'm like, I do, just find it. It's on the week off. I make it really clear that I only work when I don't have my kids, which is really nice. It's a luxury that I have. I take coaching clients only when I don't have my kids. So the week off, I do some stuff, I work for me at work, and when they're with me, I don't. So I can be with them, especially because they do hybrid right now. They're part-time in school, and so they're actually doing school in my house. So I don't want to be working when they're here. And I think once you get to a point where you can actually say to yourself what's important, and like actually, shut down, shut off a little bit, that gives you a little bit more, the luxury to do that. So it's good for me. I was ready to completely pull the plug on my own show, um, which I think when we air this, it will be a new show. It was doing divorce right. And now I decided, you know what? I need a little pivot. And I know you love to talk about pivoting. So I did a little pivot and I opened up my genre a little bit. So now it's called Doing Relationships Right, which is kind of fun for me. So that's exciting. So, you know, good stuff all around.
And I can relate to that. So, I have my son every Wednesday into Thursday and every other weekend.
Okay. Wednesday into Thursday.
So
So,
I he does remote learning here, so I don't
yep.
do any business on Wednesdays.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
it's a day off.
Smart.
And then when he is here on the weekends, I do work up until I go pick him up,
Okay.
and then there is no work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But I also drew a line in the sand that I don't take any calls or do any business once Friday at 5 hits.
Oh,
So
every Friday.
every Friday. So if you don't get on my schedule between, if it's a weekend where I don't have him,
Mhm.
I whether I have him or not, um, Friday 5 on, Saturday and Sunday, those are my days. I had a goal this year.
I want to do that.
I had a goal this year of having 180 days off this year. So 180 days of no work. So I kind of figured that if I took off every Saturday and Sunday,
Okay.
that would be 104 days off.
Okay.
And if I took off every Wednesday, that would be another
Nice.
52. So that would be 156 days off right there,
Okay. Okay.
which I need to find 26 more days. And I
I'm so
this
proud
past
of you.
week,
Yeah.
I didn't work. When we're recording this, it's post Thanksgiving. I didn't
Right.
work Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So I found 2 extra days there because my goal was to have 180 days off or 6 months. So literally,
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I wanted 6 months of working, 6 months of not working.
Okay, I have a
And
question for you.
yes,
Can I ask you a question on your own show?
sure. Yeah.
So do you like schedule as far as social media? Because I follow you and I love your stuff. So as
Thank
far
you.
as your content, do you schedule your content or how do you like, I
Everything
used
is
to,
live. So everything
me
is
too,
live.
me too.
So I'm
I
very,
hate
my
scheduling.
following knows this. I'm very active Monday through Thursday. I start to
Okay,
wind down on
me too, me
Fridays.
too.
Um, I didn't, I don't post I add to my story on
Yeah,
Instagram
me
through the
too,
weekend,
me too.
but I haven't posted, I don't post Saturday
Okay,
or Sunday on
okay,
Instagram.
yeah,
I do post very regularly Monday through Thursday
hmm
on Facebook about 3 to 5 times a day.
okay,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I cut it down to 2 times.
gotcha.
So, because I don't want to be, no one's really doing
I
work
agree.
on Friday, Saturday, and
Yeah,
Sunday
and you know what?
anyway.
You'll notice if you when you post, your followers follow you,
Yeah.
and you can actually switch. Everyone's like, well, if you don't post, they won't follow you. That's if you post, they'll follow. So it's like that you flip it.
But I'm, Thanksgiving especially, like, I made a post, whatever. I did post a lot on Thanksgiving
hmm
because it was
hmm
the first time that we had it here and we were
Sure.
cooking in our new home. And, so I kind of took people on the journey
Yeah, yeah.
of
I
that
saw.
whole thing. But like you, I have a big love-hate relationship with social media. I even said
Just
something to
like,
my wife last night. I'm like, I can't stand it because everyone is just pushing some sort of agenda, some
oh,
sort
I
of
can't.
products, and you get like, I love social media because it allows me to connect with my audience, but
Me too.
everyone is overwhelmed right now with how much attention, and again, we can talk about this another time, but that's why I went over to LinkedIn because
I love LinkedIn.
it's so not cluttered.
hmm
It's professional. People are respectful. People aren't selling and pitching, and yeah, you get some of that, but I wanted to be on this platform that was education based and information based rather than, lifestyle based and look at me based
I
and I'm living
can't.
this best life.
I
Like,
can't.
I'm just not into that. There are so many things about my life that people do know, but there's so many things about my life that people don't know. And
Yeah,
I like it that way
me
because
too.
I tell people all the time, you don't have to show every minute of every single days that you're on earth to your network. Keep something sacred.
Right. Right. Don't, I mean, back in the day, I was like, okay, I have to, but now I feel like I'm older, I'm more mature. I don't have time for that, but I do. I want you to come on my show and talk about LinkedIn.
Well, we're going to
Okay, good.
do that.
Please. I'm so
We're,
excited about that.
we're going
I
to
would
do
love
that.
that. Yes, please.
So before we wind down,
Sure.
number one, I know that you've rebranded the show, and obviously it's been out for about 6 weeks now. It
Yes.
launched in the beginning of January. It's now February. So where can people go listen to the show and find out about how Jennifer Hurvitz can help them if they
Oh,
feel that they
thank
need
you.
assistance
Thank you.
in their relationships?
Awesome. Yeah, I love the dating stuff. So I do a lot of dating coaching, which is my favorite. We didn't talk about that, but online dating coaching is my jam. So you can find me. It's easy. JenniferHurvitz.com is everything's there. My books, my coaching, my everything, my podcast. Yeah. So it's just doing relationships right. Right now it's doing divorce, or actually when the show comes out, it'll be doing relationships right on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere, and JenniferHurvitz.com. Just
Love
easy.
that. Now,
Yeah.
final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
Oh, it's so hard. What is success? You know what? I guess success just means being content and happy, and I just want my kids to be happy and healthy. It's just having happiness and being content. I think that's it. I think that's just it.
No, it's the simple things that mean the
Yeah.
most. And,
Yeah.
uh,
Healthy.
there's not a day that goes by that Nancy we say I love you to each other all throughout the
Yeah.
day, but also we always recognize how grateful we are for our lives.
Yep.
And it's not about how much we don't have, it's about how much we do have
Do
right
have.
now,
Yeah.
because especially with what's been going on the last year plus with this
Oof.
pandemic, it really puts things into perspective. And
Doesn't it?
there's two
Sure
things
does.
that people still need the most. They need community and they need connection. And people need to know that it's going to be okay. And it's for those people that they're still showing this best life and this great life. Empathy and sympathy go further than you can ever imagine, and really putting yourself in the shoes of the people that may not be in the financial position that some other people are, really taking great care and consideration of those other people really goes a long way. And for the listeners, all the information that Jen mentioned will be in the description of this episode, right to her website, so you can learn all about
Thank
her.
you.
So Jen, thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for being
honey.
here
Thank
today.
you.
Truly grateful for you and just everything that you brought to this. And I know it's going to help so many people in so many ways. So thank you so much again.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
So guys, please enjoy the rest of your day. Again, like, subscribe, share this episode with those that you feel need it most. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.